on this episode of All Consuming Podcast.
I would probably say The Act is in my top 5 of all-time albums.
Ever. Top five ever? There's this space, there's these moments where, like, his vocals, like, are the only thing.
I was really stoked about Dead Throne. And because of that, around that time I started a vinyl collection. I wouldn't call it a collection.
And you have the Dead Throne vinyl?
Nope.
No.
I wish.
Next one.
Yeah, so I pre-ordered the next album because I'm like, it's only going to get better. Zombie EP was amazing. Dead Throne was amazing. So I pre-ordered the next one. And I know it already sounds like I don't like it, but that's not my intention. So 8/18 came out next.
Yep.
And when it first came out, I loved it. But I felt like everyone that I knew, like on the internet, and like everyone I knew on the internet, but it's just, it seemed to get like really negative stuff. And it was a little bit more experimental, a little more, you know, not Dead Throne, not hardcore metalcore all the time. But I'm surprised, there are people nowadays that like it. I think it grew on people.
Yeah, totally. And I think here's the issue. Like, during that time, you had a group of people that wanted something. They wanted that Dead Throne sound, right? They're in that metalcore sound. That's what they want. And, like, even me, this is me. 8/18 came out. I didn't like it. I was turned off. Like, I was a huge Devil Wears Prada fan. Like, I pre-ordered all those albums, and then, like, I just didn't like 8/18. And you could tell their sound was changing. And I was turned off for a long time. And it's hard to, like, say that's okay, you know? But, like, going back now, it's like, there's some awesome stuff.
What made you go, not this one for me?
Okay, so you think about, like, what's changing. Like, and you see from, like, 8/18 to The Act today, there's difference in guitars, right?
Yep.
Just the way that they are, you know, doing breakdowns, or they're screaming, or whatever it is. There's just a total different sound. And I think 8/18 is pushing them towards what they are today. And part of it is this, like, and I think I've said this like a few times. They were kids at the beginning, and as you grow up, you change, you mature, you become different, adults. Right? And not in a bad way, right? But I think so many kids, and I say kids as like people in their early 20s during that time, they wanted them to make the same thing. Don't change your sound. We want this. When in the end, it's not what we want. It's what the artist wants to make. Mm-hmm. There's like, going back, like, it's almost like shame on me for just writing it off, because there's a lot of good stuff.
I don't know how I felt back then versus now. Like, I don't know if it's any different. I think it's I think I like it better than still their original 3, right? But I think it was definitely a step down for my taste, and from Dead Throne Zombie EP to 8/18. But I did listen to it a lot. Even re-listening to it now, I'm like, oh yes, I remember this song. Oh yes, I remember this song. But one thing I never knew is what the name of the album meant. 8/18.
And I always assumed, obviously, like, it's going to be when you have, like, the number, colon, and another number, it's like it always refers to a Bible verse. But, like, me writing it off, like, I didn't even care. And I don't know why I was like that, but, like, looking back, it would have been cool to dive into something like that.
Yeah. Everyone's probably wondering, what does it mean?
What Bible verse
are
they talking about?
We actually looked this up because, well, we had no idea. But there's an interview where they talk to Mike, and he's saying that it's from Romans 8:18, and it's a verse that, like, he read as a kid, and it's, like, always stuck with him. And, like, and I have stuff like that too. It's usually from the book of James or something. But
yeah.
So 8:18 is, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us.
Yeah. Romans 8:18,
which is like their theme on every album, is like suffering in this present time, glory to be revealed, like constantly. Yep. But So yeah, this album jumps into gloom, and I actually was super excited when I first heard it because it sounds like Dead Throne. Like you have like this, there's keys, but they're like an ambient, like creepy sound in the background. But you know, there's like, I just liked the very first song. It always stuck. I think it's just so much like that. It's like there's no other song on the album that's like it.
Yeah, it has a long, ominous, like almost like scary beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, and yeah, it does have a Dead Throne feel, and I think they wanted to put that there to kind of for the fans and stuff too. And like listening to it again, it's an awesome song.
I think they added a lot more like production, like electronic sounds.
Yeah,
because like there's like this bridge where he says it quietly, like no end to my, and then he screams no end to my, and then he stops and says burning, and it's like chop 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 burning, like constantly. It's so good.
I think the one song that I was like pulled to, like even though Gloom's a good song, I go back and I like other songs, but the one song that like I did listen to was War, and it's a different song, and it almost kind of, to me, like resembles what they are today, but like I was drawn to that song for some reason, even though it's not even probably, you know, close to the most popular on the album.
Yeah, well, I think so. They actually do something totally different with this song.
Yeah,
they start with singing.
Yes,
like they never start with singing.
No,
if anything, it's like a shout before they jump into some crazy metalcore. But like he starts with, I don't even know what he sings, but yeah, it starts slow, starts with singing, and then builds, and it feels dynamic, and it's like you could tell they grew as musicians, and tastes,
and it gets them to where they are today, is what I think. And you listen to 818, the song on the album, and that too is like that song. I think, and Gary could disagree with this, but I think 818 could almost be put on the Act. It definitely could be on the next album, because it's like, this is what they're going to sound like. This isn't Dead Throne anymore. This isn't Zombie EP. This is The Devil Wears Prada now.
That.
Yeah.
Because like the chorus on 818 is actually calm. Instead of him like singing as high as he can and like trying to wail, like he's like calmly singing it. And like it's a song about like a shooting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like someone gets shot, and basically the chorus that there's not a lot of words to this one, but the thing that he keeps saying is rivers run, mountains peak, we remain scared. Like nothing is changing. We are still afraid. And I think he ends with like but we still believe in you or something, or like but we still have faith. I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting song.
Yeah.
Musically, and lyrically. That kind of leads me into Transgress. I added this last minute, so I'm sorry if you have nothing to say, Tyler.
It's all right, man.
I was just like, I was like playing with my son upstairs, and we were like re-listening to 818, and like the song came on, and I was like, there's like this breakdown that made me pay attention to it. But there's a part where like he just says like, break it, like super high pitched, drawn out, like. It sounds like it hurts his throat, and it just gets so heavy. And I'm like, oh man, what's this song? Like, so I go and like read the lyrics and whatnot, and I don't know what the lyrics are about, but there's a part where he says, with 7 plagues and some roots and a throne, I'm back at where I started. And it's like, oh, that's from Plagues, that's from With Roots Above and Branches Below, and that's from Dead Throne. But I don't know if he's like having a writer's block, or if he's saying like, even throughout all these years, I'm still failing at what I can't fix myself or sin because the song's called Transgress.
Yeah, and I think like I thought it was super clever how they added in those albums, you know, in the song lyrics, and then go back and just say you're right where you started. And sometimes it feels that way, like what progress have I made? The years go by, the days go by, or whatever, you know, and I'm still here.
Yeah, that amount of time, like from Plagues, that's high school.
Yep.
So it's like, man, what has not changed about me since high school? you know?
Yeah, but maybe like those insecurities that we have, or whatever it is, those things that you think you might outgrow, you look back and you're like, dang, they're still there. Or maybe it's something that you can't forgive yourself for that you did. I don't know. But there's just like that idea of like, I thought I was going to make progress, but I didn't. And that's tough.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, I think like you go through all of 818 and there's good stuff. But like I said, I just got turned off. And then like it was other bands, and the Devil Wears Prada were like my top band forever. But this album at that time like turned me off. And I hate being that guy, but I was. And I go back and listen to it, and it's a great album. It turned me off from the next one, Space EP. That is amazing.
I think a lot of people were turned off by it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something where people say like, oh, Zombie EP and Space EP. Yeah.
Right.
They're like, you listen to Space EP? You know?
Yeah. But if it was released maybe different, I don't know, maybe it would be mentioned with Zombie EP, because like I think so many fans like felt that there was this change in the Devil Wears Prada. Then when Space EP came out after that, like we didn't listen. And
did you not ever listen to it?
I did. I listened to it once and I was like, whatever. Or like I listened to a song. Maybe I think they released Planet A first. And I listened to it and I was like, whatever. You know, it's okay. It's not the Devil Wears Prada from Plagues or from Roots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just didn't give it a shot. And then literally like a week ago, Gary's like, listen to Space EP. You're going to love it. And I listened to it. Now that's all I listen to right now.
That's amazing. I like it because it's another one of those. Well, I assumed it was a literal song about space, like all the songs are. And they are. The theme is space. But there's a lot of like metaphors in there.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of tough. It's kind of tough to pick a song to talk about. There's a song called Moon God. Surprise, it's about God. But there's like this lyric that he says, and it's kind of always stuck with me. I mean, so I love the way that the music is, right? It's very electronic guitar driven.
Yes.
And it's very like guitar sweeping and like a lot of really high energy, high notes, not heavy breakdowns or, you know, chuggy guitars. It's like a different feel than what they've done. But with Moon God, there's a part where he says, in between cancer and all the fire. And then he says something like, it's up to you to choose in between cancer and all the fire. And I didn't understand what that meant. And I tried thinking about it this past week. And it's like, you know, when you die, there's two extremes, right? The slow death of cancer that can take years, months, whatever, and uncertainty.
Right.
Then there's a death by fire.
Pretty quick.
Which is extremely painful and fast and poof done.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know entirely what that song is about. It's very weird. It kind of seems like he's frustrated at this moon for being up there, but he can't see its glow all the time.
Yeah.
And that a lot of stuff in his life is he just can't see. And sometimes the glow is powerful and sometimes it's not, you know.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty huge to think about. And like even listening to it like on repeat right now, like I listen to it and I'm like, oh, it's just talking about some space god, you know, or whatever. But like, you're right. You're totally right.
Moon God, where's your glow?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, just kind of that idea of like lamenting, like how God is this happening? I guess that makes a lot of sense, you know? Yeah. And you're right. It's like a really different type of song, but it's still upbeat, right? And it still has those electric guitars, but it's lyrically pretty cool. I love the Space EP all the way through. It's unsettling though, the ending for me, like the song An Asteroid Towards Earth. Like I was walking the other day in my neighborhood and I was just going through these, you know, kind of listening for the podcast, and had the Space EP going on. I went on my walk, you know, and it's getting.
Were you walking through the thick smoke?
No. This is right before the smoke. Right before the smoke.
Okay.
And
Okay.
And so what ended up happening is I'm walking and we get to this last song and it's getting dark, and all this. And the song is like about an asteroid literally coming towards Earth and like saying goodbye to everybody because it's all going to be over. Everything's over, And so like they're talking, like, think of best friends, strangers, lovers, foes, children, and keep in mind nothing stays. And I'm just walking and like something just like hit me like, dude, this is scary. And like I wanted to be home and like go hug my kids, and I wanted to go kiss my wife and just be like, dude, that imagining that situation of like it's all gonna be over.
Yeah, they like play on the news like an asteroid's gonna hit in one day.
Yeah.
Like you don't have enemies anymore because who cares, right? You don't have foes. Like all you care about is your family and loved ones.
Better say goodbye because it's getting closer.
Yeah. I think it's a great reminder of things. There's things that just don't matter.
Yeah. It's an awesome reminder because in the end, and this goes back to Des Moines, in the end, all those things you have that you have accomplished in this life, they don't mean anything, right? If an asteroid comes and destroys Earth, you don't get to take all your money with you. And that person that you're angry at, that person that you can't forgive, they're just a human at the end. They're going to die too. Why are you even angry at them?
Yeah, I like the way that he like talks like that at the end. Think of families, think of friends, think of foes, think of lovers. Anyway, it's like he's not actually screaming, and the music is almost completely gone. And he's just like saying this over and over, but kind of screaming. And it's like, it's kind of creepy, like the way he does it. Yeah. And he goes through it twice, and just the way it ends, I think it's a great segue into their next music, like what they're gonna do. Because it's not just the Devil Wears Prada going fast and hard as much as they can. Like there's some space in their music, and there's, it's just a new style for them, and I think it was a great song.
Yeah, and then it leads just like you said into their next album, Transit Blues, and I'm still like, when this comes out, I'm still not fully in. Like I'm out. I'm listening to other bands. I'm into other things because they haven't continued their metalcore, Dead Throne stuff, right? And so when Transit Blues comes out, I listened to the first release. I forget what it was. Do you know what the first single was?
The first song was like Worldwide, I think.
It was Worldwide.
And it dropped with a music video.
It did, yes. Yeah.
Like brand new music video. Like,
and Worldwide came out, and I was like, I'm going to give this a try. And I was like, no way. Like, and you shouldn't judge the album on that song. And like, who am I, a freaking teacher, like, barely can play acoustic guitar or whatever? Like, who am I to judge music? But like, in my mind, I was like, peace, I'm out. Like, I just couldn't do it. I could not do it.
Yeah, I had a hard time with it too. I mean, so I listened to the Space EP when it came out, and I was stoked the whole way through. I would listen to it at work on repeat unknowingly as it just kept playing, because every song's very different.
Yes.
And so when Transit Blues was announced, I was like, cool. And they like mentioned that the theme is traveling.
Yeah.
And like being homesick and on the road and stuff. And I was like, okay, so it might be a little sad, whatever. But yeah, the first song that came out was Worldwide, and it was a music video with it, right? So no album yet, no other songs, just that. And I like watched the music video, and I just could not believe what I was seeing. And to me, I was like done. Like I was like, oh no, this album's gonna be so bad. It felt like a mainstream hit. I mean, he sings like Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like he says something before that, and everyone that knows the song knows what I'm talking about. All I had to say was Tokyo.
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh,
it just seemed really cheesy. Like he wanted to like go to all these cities, right? Like from here to here, from here to here, but it ends with Tokyo, and it's like, like there's no metaphors. It's literal, and it just felt like a mainstream shot. And maybe I felt like, like they lost their integrity. I don't know. I was like, maybe they'll have something good later down the road, but it turned out that I don't like Transit Blues. And I know there are people out there that do.
That love it.
I don't know how they do.
And this is like for sure. This is in between even 818 and The Act, which is the next album. It's in between. And you can give like credit to that. They're trying to find their sound. Like they're trying to figure out what they want to be.
It was definitely experimental.
Yes.
Definitely. Like they were doing different things with the guitars, different things with singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely new, and I'm glad they tried something, and I hope it wasn't just because they were like, we have to meet a commitment and get these songs out, for a contract or whatever, but...
And I don't think it was. I think they thought they were putting out something maybe groundbreaking, maybe like something that was experimental but new, and it just flopped for most of the fans that they've had, right?
Yeah.
But if that's what it took to get them to The Act,
I'm all for it.
Then I'm for it too, and I can go back and I can say, you know what, like I can go back and say, hey, Daughter's a pretty good song. I can say, To the Key of the Evergreen's a good song. Like there's some good songs on there, and you can appreciate it. And if that's what it took for them to find their sound that they get to, I'm okay.
Yep.
I'm okay that that's there, and I'll listen to it.
Yep. I completely agree. But I don't know how someone can like it.
Right.
No, I remember there was something on Reddit. I go to the metalcore subreddit, and someone was asking like what they thought of Transit Blues, and I was so surprised how many people were all on board.
Well, you could probably tell from this. I saw them for Plagues, I saw them for Roots, and I saw them for Dead Throne. I haven't seen them since. And so I don't know.
Are you saying because you haven't seen them, you don't like them?
No, I'm just saying like I didn't like go out of my way to go see them. But like bands like August Burns Red or For Today or whatever it was, like I was going out of my way to see them because I was like loving what they were putting out. And the Devil Wears Prada was like changing into their sound. And so I just couldn't get it. I don't like Transit Blues just like you. And I think a lot of people like didn't get what they were doing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, there's not a ton for me to talk about on Transit Blues, but there's so much to talk about for what it goes to The Act.
So going into that, The Act is it is definitely my favorite album that they've ever done.
Your favorite?
Like, my favorite. So
more you like it better. You like wait. You like it more than Dead Throne?
Yep.
Wow.
In fact, I would probably say The Act is in my top 5 of all-time albums. I have it on vinyl on my wall. Let me point at it right there.
Ever? Top 5 ever?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so in between Transit Blues, the album that you don't listen to, the album that you don't like,
Yep.
the album that I don't like, 3 years later they come out with The Act, 2019, and it's a top 5 album. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Okay.
It doesn't even sound like Devil Wears Prada. Like, it's such a new sound. Like,
it is, yes.
They went, I don't know, man. Like, they just don't make the same as they used to, but it's right up my alley. Like, the genre is pretty much now post metalcore, like after metalcore.
I call it dadcore, but yeah. We're all like 30.
Don't call it dadcore.
That's probably okay. That's inappropriate. What? Wait, what? Okay, so it's post metalcore. What does that? Okay, what does that even mean?
I don't know. It's like trying to push the edges of metalcore. Like, what is the next sound of metalcore? And I feel like they hit it, and I think Norma Jean followed very quickly right after them.
Yes.
But really, what gets me is the guitar tones and the tempos, how they create space in the music, and like it's not these like breakdowns, right? I mean, there's still breakdowns, but they're not like, build up, say something cool, drop, like that's metalcore nonstop, and like it's just different. And like just the tone of the guitars themselves. Like I think it tickles a bone in me or something. Like the sound is just amazing.
Is it more accessible? Like that's what some people like would say. Like, is this sound meant to be more accessible for the average everyday rock listener?
I think so. I mean, they're still screaming a lot,
Yeah.
right? I mean, Mike's not going to not scream.
Right.
He kind of sings a couple times, and Jeremy still sings, not nearly as high, but he sings a lot, and he does a great job. Yeah. But I think the biggest point in that is that my wife loves this album.
Yeah.
Like, when we were first listening, like 2 weeks ago, knowing we were going to do Devil Wears Prada, and Jen's like, "Oh, cool," and I started with like Dear Love or Plagues. She's like,
"Who's this?
Can we not? Can you start with the act?" And I'm like, "That's the last one. Like, I have to get through all this stuff. I have to remember." Yeah. But yeah, I love this album. I can see me listening to this for years to come.
Wow. It's so different, and like for me, like it's been like this process, I think. Like me trying to just like let go of the Dead Throne sound and the Root sound. Just let go, Tyler, and realize like this is something that's pretty cool. Right? Lines of Your Hands came out. I think that was the first one released. Mm-hmm. And I automatically started playing it. And I was like, okay, I can get with this sound. It sounds kind of, I don't know if you agree with me, it sounds kind of under oathy. I can hear like Aaron Gillespie singing on that chorus.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can get behind this sound. And then they released Chemical.
No, the next one they released was
Oh no, you're right. Please Say No.
Please Say No.
That's what it was. And they released Please Say No, and I was like, no, I'm saying no. To this whole album.
No,
now,
it's
because
That's such a good song.
I was so, I just heard it and I was like, I can't wrap my mind around this, so I'm going to stop. And then you texted me, you're like, hey, have you heard the new Devil Wears Prada album when they dropped the whole album? And I'm like, good grief, dude. You didn't just hear like the singles. Amazing. And you were like all about it. And so I gave it a shot, and I'm glad I did. Because the first song on the album, Switchblade, completely drew me in. And it's different. It's not your typical metalcore sound, but it's heavy. And there is a breakdown that I've never like heard that type of breakdown before. And I love it.
I'm trying to remember it. How's it go?
It's like I'm gonna make all the sounds with my mouth. Hold on, right? It's towards the end of the song, and it's just like you said, there's more space, there's electronic stuff going on, but the guitar tone is just like da-na-na, I can't even do it. It's not going to do it justice.
It's chunky.
It's slow, but it's heavy.
He says like, you want to watch me bleed, and he like screams it super hard, and the guitar's going at the same time. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, so I love that, and I was like, okay, I can probably get on board with some of these songs. But not all the songs are like that. I'd say there's very few that are like Switchblade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Switchblade was like a great mix. It was like a good mix of what this album is and what their old stuff was.
Yes.
It was a great introduction. Like, here's a taste. If you like the new stuff, hopefully you'll like the rest of the album.
Yeah, it's old Devil Wears Prada, but slower and a different tone. It's kind of hard to explain that tone that they're getting, but it's different. And it's something that you listen to, you're like, that's a heavy tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome, but it's not what they used to be, but it's kind of that bridge, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you go then, like, and I already mentioned Lines of Your Hands, like being this under oathy type of song. I loved it. And to me, like, I play that song all the time. And this is a song where like my wife can listen and like it too. You have like this nice chorus, and it's still kind of that, it's upbeat, right? This isn't slow. And so it's kind of more upbeat, and it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable song. I think it's a love song.
I think so too. Yep.
It's pretty cool.
So when I first heard that single, I was not excited. Like, it sounded like another mainstream shot.
Yeah.
They have that girl in it that sings. And you're like, yeah, oh, another metalcore song with a girl guest vocalist singing really pretty in the background, you know.
Yeah.
But did you? I told you before, so there's no big surprise. But the girl that sings in that song is Sierra Kay, and she sings in another super popular song from A Day to Remember, and she sings in the "If It Means a Lot to You."
Yeah. And that's a great song. That song, like, my wife, like, we went and saw A Day to Remember multiple times now, and my wife's gone at least once, but she went with us, and she was like, oh, I hope they play that song. You know, that song must be just ready for it. They're going to play that song.
Did Crystal want to go up and sing with them?
Yeah, and obviously, if you know A Day to Remember, like, a lot of their stuff is not, like, crazy heavy, but there's screaming, and there's breakdowns, and it's mosh pit worthy, right? And so my wife is at this like mosh pit show expecting to hear this acoustic guitar of these two people singing how they miss each other on the road, right? And you know what he did though? He did bust out the acoustic guitar, Jeremy from A Day to Remember, and he played the song. And so he did, and my wife got that satisfaction, right? And so that was
now
cool,
she
though.
came even more often, right?
Yeah, and so we listen to that song all the time.
Well, now you should tell her that girl is on this song.
And she'll be like, is it the same song, though? Are they talking about love? They are, okay?
They are, actually.
Yeah,
it is
I
a love
know.
song. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's about, like, growing old with them, right? Like, let me be the
Yeah.
lines in your hands. As you get older, your lines get deeper.
Yeah.
And there's a part of the song that, like, where she sings, and it sounds like she's being impatient with his issues.
Yeah.
Like, how much longer do I have to be patient? How much longer do I need to do this? And, you know, I don't know his intention. I mean, this album is still pretty new. It came out right at the end of the year last year.
Right.
So one of the other songs that they released besides
Lines of Your Hands and Please Say No.
Please Say No, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Was Chemical.
Yeah.
And I like the song. Like, I mean, it's pretty catchy. I wasn't 100% sure what it was about, but like the music is great. And after listening to the Labeled podcast, he went on there right before the album came out, so he really only talked about the singles. And I think he mentioned a song or two that no one knew about yet. And it's like, oh, that's a song that's about to come out. Cool, I'll remember that. He talked about the Chemical and how the lyrics came up from a TED Talk where they talked about anxiety and sleep disorders and depression.
Yeah.
And that in reality, it's just chemicals in your head. Like, all this distress you're having, all these issues in your head, it's just these chemicals being released. And it's like, if you could just tell your body to stop doing that, you know, my problems would go away, you know?
That's weird. That's weird to think about, though. That's weird to think about.
For sure.
That feeling of, gosh, like despair that people go through, that feeling of like you can't do something physically, like, is just chemical reactions in your head making you feel that way.
Yeah, so I really like the song. There's a, you know, the chorus is like, I want to sing it, but I'm not a good singer. But he says, back when I couldn't move, was frozen, I told myself it's all good, it's only chemical.
Yeah.
Right? And I've talked about this with Tyler before and others, but like, I have always had this issue with like the fear of death. Yeah. And I don't know why. Like, I could think about it right now and be totally fine. Like, one day I'm going to die. I'm not going to be on this planet. Right? My physical body will be in the ground or ashes, whatever. But sometimes at night, I'm just laying there and the thought hits me and it's just like complete panic. And so when he says that he couldn't move, he was frozen, like, I've been there. Like, I've propped myself up in bed, just been like frozen. And like just the other day, Jen was up and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, sorry, I'm having a panic attack or something. And, you know, and so this song, like, it just hits home with me. Like, if I could just tell myself, it's just these dumb chemicals, come out at night kind of thing.
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, you know, it's like, yeah. Love the song, and it really relates. Like,
I think a lot of people do. Like, it's played a lot, you know. And when it was released, like earlier, I talked about Coheed and Cambria. This could be a Coheed and Cambria song. That's how heavy it is. Like, it's not a super heavy song, Okay. And like, I know Gary's like screaming inside of his head right now, but like objectively, it's not very heavy. I mean, it's not Devil Wears Prada. It isn't at all. But like, just like Gary said, those lyrics, they mean something, which is everything that Devil Wears Prada is. Right?
Yep.
And so, man, we had those talks. Like, when I'd come to your place and we had these like YouTube sessions, we'd talk afterwards, like 4 a.m. about like death and like what happens. Like, it's just over.
Yeah,
you know, like what is it?
And like, yeah.
How much have you accomplished? And what about our kids and all this stuff and all these like things just running through your head? And like, that's that feeling I had when I'm listening to the Space EP about this asteroid coming towards Earth. And like, it's just this unsettling feeling about like, there's a lot we don't know. Right? Yep. And sometimes those things we don't know, it just feels like they become huge voids in our brains. And we have to know them, even though we don't really have to. And so, like, fear takes over, like you're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
But yeah, and I don't even have a disorder. Like, there are people who have, like, serious, you know, and I feel so bad for them because it's just a sick brain. It's not, you know, they're not like messed up people. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just their brain is firing these signals that shouldn't be doing it. And yeah, and I think he's one of those people, and he writes a song about it. And I actually went and listened to that TED Talk too, and it was pretty interesting. You know, like a year ago or whatever when they talked about it. But
yeah, it's interesting though, because like that song could never be on another album of the Devil Wears Prada.
No, it would stick out like a sore thumb. Like, what is this?
And it still kind of, to me, like sticks out, but not like it would. And it took probably some like guts to like put it on here, because they saw how their fans reacted to Transit Blues. And they're like, well, I'm assuming they want us to go less heavy. And so they're doing something different, and they're going all in. And so why not put it on there? And I can see a lot of fans like being drawn to, just like you said, there's the same theme, that suffering that we're going through on this earth. That's it. Like, they're still singing about that. They're still talking about that. They've just changed musically.
Mm-hmm. In a great way, in my opinion.
In a great way. And we're going to get to some other songs that really like show this like ability to have this post metalcore or whatever this genre is called. But like, the fact that they just went all in, like, earns a lot of respect from me, even if it took me a little bit to get into this album.
Did it take you a little bit?
It did. It took me a little bit.
Like, you didn't listen to the entire thing and you're like, yes. You're like, Gary likes it, I'll give it another listen.
Okay, so here's how my first listen went. I heard Switchblade, I was like, let's go. This is awesome. I can see the differences, but I really like this song. Lines of Your Hands, love it. Under Oath, right? I can feel it. Wave of Youth, okay. Or sorry, Chemicals next, I think. Chemical. Oh gosh.
Radio song?
This is a radio song, and I didn't give it a chance. Next song, Wave of Youth, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Please say no. And like I said, I'm saying no at that point. So it took me, I was off, man, and you were so stoked on it, I gave it a shot. Numb, which is later in the album, it takes some listening to get to, right? And so for me, like, I just didn't, and I finally just listened to it all, and Numb is an awesome song. There are so many elements of that song, and you just got to say, you know what? I'm okay that they're different. I'm okay that the Devil Wears Prada has matured. I'm okay that it's not breakdowns and metalcore.
Mm-hmm.
And Numb is an amazing song that really just kind of captures all of that.
I don't know. There's breakdowns in Numb, dude.
There is, yeah, but it's not all about the breakdowns, right? Like, there's breakdowns, but like, it's not those fast chugga breakdowns.
It's like a sweet guitar riff, and that's it.
Yeah. And lyrically, Numb 2 is awesome.
Yep.
Right? And that's the thing. The lyrics like that are so hard for the longest time, like we didn't know in Dear Love, we didn't know in Plagues, we didn't know in Roots. We know because we can understand what they're saying. There's a lot more singing. Right? And the screams are a lot more they're not
Controlled.
covered up. Yeah, they're controlled. And so you can...
He's not just like screaming as hard as he can. Like,
Yeah.
You know, like he's actually like saying words and it sounds like anguish, you know, rather than intensity.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no, I love Numb's great. I love the way that when they do that first chorus, like it starts really soft, and they start in the chorus, and it just like builds up musically. You can feel everything building up, and like, oh man,
It just hits.
yeah, it's so awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I could hear it in my head right now. It's so good.
Yeah, it's a great song. And so I think I was like at the gym, and this is obviously pre-COVID, but I was at the gym and like just walking on a treadmill or whatever, and I listened to Numb, and I was like, shoot, I'm listening to that again. I'm gonna listen to it one more time. And I just kept listening to it, and I was like, this thing is awesome, you know. And then I was like, I'm gonna give everything a shot. And there's a lot more songs on the album that I really, really enjoy.
Yeah, I think my hardest time was picking only a few songs to talk about. Like, I would love to have a podcast just dedicated to this one album where we actually go through every single one.
And I think we could. That would be pretty cool to see how, like, there's some songs on here, Gary, that I still don't like.
And I'll try to forgive you.
But I know you just love this album. But I would say the majority of the songs on here I do like now. You're changing my mind every day I listen to this. Like,
Oh, good.
just
Let's
yeah,
listen
like,
again.
We were talking about this the other day. Like, Isn't It Strange is a song after Numb, and it is different. It is totally different, and I did not like it at all. Gary's
Before
like,
we
listen
talked?
to it.
Like you didn't like it at all until we talked?
Yeah, like, not that I didn't like it at all. It was just okay. And then you're like, oh, I just love how he hits these highs. I love how this. And so today, all I've been listening to is Isn't It Strange? And you're right.
Amazing.
Like, there's this space. There's these moments where, like, his vocals, like, are the only thing. Mm-hmm. And that's never been Devil Wears Prada. The vocals, like, they're there. They're important. But they're not the most important. And, like, this album gives space for the vocals.
I feel like every instrument gets its time to shine.
Yes, yeah.
They're not like all going at the same time. Like, it's okay that all you hear is a voice. It's okay that all you hear is like this one guitar tone for like 3 seconds. Like, it's such a different pace. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know why Isn't It Strange just hooked me, but I think it's just the way he screams, Isn't It Strange? Like, it just feels strange. But the song is about, like, sitting in a doctor's office. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some hidden message or some kind of intention. I don't know. But he's, like, sitting in a doctor's office, and it's, like, the doctor's running a few minutes late. And he sings this very nicely and calmly. The music's very relaxed.
Yeah.
And no drip to compensate. Obviously, he's there in pain, whether it's mental or physical, whatever. And he's, like, waiting for the doctor. And he says, paper blanket pulled out straight. It's those paper blankets on those seats you have to sit on, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You just kind of get this imagery as he's doing this. And he says, no room for debate, which I think is like, he's been told bad news, or he knows he's going to. And like, the doctor's right. What are you going to say? Like, no, I'm not sick. No, I don't have this disorder. Like, can't debate. Like, it's true. But man, there's this one time where he says, it's like a verse or something, and he's like, the door frame, like he's describing the room more, right? He says this door frame contrasts the space, but the way he says space, I don't know if it's auto-tuned or if there's like another guy that shows up and screams behind him, but it is so high-pitched, you think your speakers are going to rip.
Yeah.
Like, and it just blows me away, and then he goes right back into, Isn't It Strange? And like,
It's an unsettling song. I think I've said unsettled a lot, but it's not like a.
It's a new genre, man. Like,
yeah, it's a new genre. It's something that you have to like be okay with. And we were going to see these guys. We were going to see them for this tour. And in my head, still, like, I'm like, okay, I'd love when they play Switchblade or Lines of Your Hands. but they better go back and play Dead Throne, or they better go back and play Roots, you know?
I'm sure they will. It wasn't their tour, right? It was We Came as Romans 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We were supposed to see them at the end of March.
Yeah. Yep.
Which means the album would have been out for like 4 months.
Yep.
And then COVID hit. Like, literally, we were like 2 weeks out, and everything gets shut down from the governor of Washington. And the show gets like, it got postponed to like July, and then it got postponed. Now it's just like,
it's not probably happening. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a bummer. I was so excited. So excited. I was also excited to see We Came as Romans and Gideon with their new album, to see how much they've changed.
They've changed. That podcast is going to be killer.
Yeah.
It's going to be bleeping awesome.
Only at the end.
I think overall, though, when you think about Devil Wears Prada, who they were, who they become, like, I think there's things that stay true to them, right? And so overall, like, who are they? They're a band that has been singing about topics that we go through every single day, right? That these kids in the underground scene, these kids in the metalcore scene, these now dads in this heavy music scene, like, things that we go through, things that we have to deal with. And it is comforting to know that there's people that go through the same thing.
Yeah. I've really liked the progress that they've made, you know? Like,
yeah.
I think if the act didn't exist and you said, let's do a podcast on the Devil Wears Prada, I would have probably said, let's wait till like episode 15.
Right.
You know? But because of the act, like, I was like, yes, I'm down. I want to talk about the act and Zombie EP and Dead Throne. And, you know, it's like, I respect that people don't like the new stuff and they want more of the old, right?
Right.
I get it. But to me, that stuff's still there. It didn't go anywhere, right?
Yep.
You can still go back and listen to it. And for a band to keep making the same music, August Burns Red.
Hey, how dare you? First of all, how dare you? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I love August Burns Red. Don't get me wrong. And I love their music, and I love that they only change it a little bit each time. Like, I love that.
They stay true, yeah.
But, and you know, the Devil Wears Prada, if they didn't change their music, I would not be that big of a fan.
Right. And now you got a top 5 album from them.
I am stoked to see what they come up with next. Like, I mean, I think Solid State Records is like hitting it out of the park lately with the bands that they're signing and the albums that they're putting out. So I think we're about to see some really sweet songs. And even despite COVID-19, I think we're going to see some bangers coming out.
And so I think, like, for me, like, the nostalgia is there for this old stuff. Like, I mean, I was just graduating high school when I first heard these guys, and you were too. But like, when I really got into them, I was a kid, right? And so I have that nostalgia with this band, and like, I love that old stuff. But now I'm excited for the new stuff, and I'm glad that, like, we're doing this, and like, I'm glad you've pushed me to expand. Like, I stay in my bubble of metalcore.
It's safe,
and I say
metalcore
this is
bubble.
what it has to be, you know. And to do that to a band, I think's wrong. And so it's pretty cool to see this progress, like you said. And where are they going to go from here? They almost created a new genre.
Yeah.
And I see people going to probably follow. And what does it look like? And so
I hope
it's
they
crazy.
keep making this. Like, don't try anymore. If you guys are listening, I'm sure you're not.
No, they're not.
Don't change. Like, make another one of these, or 2 or 3. Like, I love it.
Me too.
Especially if, like, anyway, conversation for another time.
Yeah.
So that pretty much concludes our discussion of Devil Wears Prada. Every episode we do a playlist on Spotify. We add it on and add every song that we went through and talked about. So I'll add a link to that on the description of this episode, so you can check it out.
But the 18th of September, Fit for a King is releasing their new album, The Path. And so Gary and I decided we are going to do our next podcast on the new album, The Path from Fit for a King.
Hopefully we love it and we have a lot to say about it. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, our plan is to go song by song and just kind of give our first impression.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm always very positive about things. And Tyler's the more, it takes him a minute to come around. But yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it's something we've never done. It's only our third episode, but Fit for a King, the path. Also,
before we forget, we are making it big time now. We have a Facebook page, All Consuming Podcast Facebook page. All of the posts are Gary, so if you don't like them, you can't blame me. No, but you guys should totally join it. And when we talk about Fit for a King, their new album release, The Path, you guys could maybe comment on our posts, tell us what you think about it. It could be really awesome. I mean, we're totally excited about this because it's new music. We haven't had much of this since COVID started. So go like that Facebook page, follow us, make some comments, and blame Gary if you don't like it.
Thank you for listening.